We support more positive-based, relationship-based style of training dogs, and we don't condone using fear or pain as a motivational tool to get dogs to perform. And that's true across the board, whether that's for a working dog or a pet dog or typical companion dog. Um, we're really trying to, our whole in the humane movement is we want to grow and enhance the bond between people and animals. And anything that uses fear and pain, it fundamentally fractures, it damages that relationship between the people and the pet.
Now, law enforcement people that I've spoke to have argued that these are highly trained dogs. They've got a different level of alert level, shall we say, than other dogs would have, and that they almost need this because you've got to prove that you're the leader of the pack so that they will always follow your commands, especially if they're bite dogs, which this dog was not a bite dog. This was just a detection dog.
Yeah, I would say that that kind of pack leader, alpha dog mentality is really antiquated, and that the field in general, behavioral science and the dog training and dog behavior has really evolved over the past several decades, and that what we're seeing and that the leaders in the field and the general consensus is that building the relationship and a more positive reinforcement based methods actually get better performance out of dogs too. And that's true whether it's a high level agility, competitive agility dog, bomb sniffing dogs, tracking dogs, or just basic obedience if you're working with a pet, that you have a better chance for long term sustainable success when you keep a positive relationship and you build trust, and the dog is working in collaboration with the handler versus only performing out of fear that it might be hurt or it might be scared or it might be intimidated. That's just not a recipe for long-term sustainable success. It may work in the moment, so it tricks people. So people may see a dog in the moment that submits and that cowers, relies on the ground, but that's not sustainable. That later, when that dog comes across people, it's going to have certain hesitation and fear. And fear is not a something we want to instill in dogs, no matter what they're being used for, working or not.
And in the case of this particular dog, our sources tell us that it attacked both its handler, the person who rolled it, and also it's one of the caretakers in the kennel bit his hand. So, did this backfire on them?
Yeah, well, I think it worked the way I would have expected it to work. I can't speak to this particular case because I wasn't there. I don't know the dog. I didn't see the exact techniques. But in general, if a dog was traumatized and developed, a fear or hesitation or connected to a specific human being, and then that same person comes back the next day and tries to engage with the dog, it doesn't surprise me that the dog might try to bite. Dogs can react multiple ways to fear. They can hide, they can retreat, they can cower, they can also use audible, they can bark and growl. They usually offer multiple opportunities for the person to remove themselves so they don't have to bite. And my guess would be that this dog tried to cower and fear and hide away, and then maybe offer some sort of warning audibly through barking or growling. And that the person, again, I didn't see this particular case, but if the person didn't leave, that the dog's level of fear and anxiety probably escalated, where the only option it felt it had left to keep itself safe was to bite.
So, this is one of this is probably, I'll say, the country's largest um, law enforcement organization that has trained dogs, and I'm going to guess that nobody has, probably in the world, has as many dogs as Homeland Security, Border Protection, Border Patrol. What does it say to you that their policy manual says this technique, the alpha roll, is something we use?
Yeah, I would say that it's less of a failure of the individuals doing the training, and it's more of a failure of policy and protocol and best practices, and that there's if they were to talk to and work with some of the leaders in behavioral science for dogs, it was just more effective and more humane ways to get dogs to perform. And I think it's probably just a case of antiquated systems, antiquated protocols, and they just haven't caught up with where the field is.